Hello students, friends and viewers. Welcome you again to my channel Basics of Political Science. I, Dr. Devashish Mitra, would like to introduce to you a concept that is being recently introduced in India known as Lokpal and Lokayukta. Before going into the detailed discussion about the Lokpal and Lokayukta in India, let me first introduce you about the need of this or these institutions in India. These institutions in India basically arrived due to the problem of corruption, which to many is the root cause of this country. Though there are many anti-corruption agencies in India, most of these anti-corruption agencies are hardly independent. So, let us know what are Lokpal and Lokayuktas. In context to the prevention of corruption in India, an independent institution of Lokpal and Lokayukta has been a significant and a landmark move in the history of Indian polity, which offered a kind of solution to the never-ending problem of corruption. It definitely provides a powerful and effective measure to counter corruption at various levels of the governmental system and regime. But the point is that why Lokpal and Lokayukta? First is basically to take over the administrative structures that is spread throughout the length and breadth of this country. Second, it is basically to administer the internal agencies which fight against the corruption and various other maladministration. As these agencies are independent in form and structure, but they are not so in practice. Then what are these Lokpal and Lokayuktas? The Lokpal and Lokayukta Act 2013 have basically mandated and given a signal for the establishment of Lokpal at the union level and Lokayukta at the state level. Lokpal and Lokayuktas are statutory bodies and hence these do not have any sort of constitutional status. That means they do not derive their power from the constitution, but they derive their power from the parliament. These institutions perform the function and role of an ombudsman. Now, to define ombudsman, we can say these are an official appointed to investigate individual complaints against any company or organization, and that organization specifically has to be a public organization. And they also inquire into allegations of corruptions, again, various public bodies and organizations, and for other related matters. Now let us see the origin and history of Lokpal and Lokayuktas. This story of Lokpal and Lokayukta has been a long time. Lokpal and Lokayukta basically is not an Indian concept. The concept of ombudsman originated in 1809 with the official inauguration of the institution of ombudsman in Sweden. Later in the 20th century, after the Second World War, the institution of ombudsman developed and they most significantly grew after the Second World War. Countries like Norway, New Zealand, they also adopted the system of ombudsman in the year 1962, and that proved to be very important and a significant one in uh, spreading the concept of ombudsman to various other places and other countries. Great Britain adopted the institution of the Ombudsman in the year 1967 on the recommendation of the Waite Report of 1961. Through the adoption of such a system, Great Britain became the first eminent nation in the entire democratic world to have such an anti-corruption unit or institution. But after Great Britain in 1966, Guyana emerged as the first developing nation to adopt such a concept of the ombudsman, uh, and subsequently it was further adopted by Mauritius, Singapore, Malaysia, and India as well. In India, the concept of ombudsman was introduced by the former law minister Sri Ashok Kumar Sen in Parliament in the year as early as 1960s. After the recommendation later in 1966, the term Lokpal and Lokayukta were coined by Dr. L.M. Singhvi. In 1966, the first Administrative Reforms Commission passed recommendations regarding the setting up of two independent authorities at the central and at the state level. According to the Commission's recommendation, those two independent authorities were appointed to look into complaints against public functionaries, including members of Parliament as well. After the recommendations from the Commission, the Lokpal Bill was passed in Lok Sabha in 1968 for the first time, but lapsed due to the dissolution of the Lok Sabha. Since then, the bill was introduced many times in Lok Sabha, but has lapsed till 2011. As many as 8 attempts were made to pass the bill, but each of them failed. Before 2011, a commission headed by M.N. Venkatachalaya was also set up in the year 2002 to review the working of the Constitution. It is popularly known as the Venkatachalaya Commission. This commission recommended the appointment of the Lokpal and Lokayuktas. The commission also recommended that the Prime Minister ought to be kept out of the ambit of the Lokpal. Later in 2005, the second Administrative Reforms Commission, chaired by Sri Virappa Moily, came up with the recommendation that the office of the Lokpal needs to be established without delay. With all these recommendations were never given the due preference, the government in 2011 formed a group of ministers chaired by the former President Sri Pranab Mukherjee. These group of ministers worked to examine the proposal of a Lokpal bill and to suggest measures to tackle corruption. Not only the administration and the government, but even the citizen of India felt the need for such a response to a system which should be introduced into the Indian political and governance system. And thus, the India Against Corruption movement led by Anna Hazare, they put pressure on the United Progressive Alliance government, that is the then government at the center, and that resulted in the passing of the Lokpal and Lokayuktas Bill 2013 in both the houses of the Parliament. Finally, it received assent from President on 1st January 2014 and came into force on 16 January 2014. After the introduction of the Lokpal and Lokayukta Act 2013, a bill was passed by Parliament in July 2016, which amended the Lokpal and Lokayukta Act 2013. This amendment enabled the leader of the single largest opposition party in the Lok Sabha to become a member of the selection committee in the absence of a recognized leader or leader of opposition. It also amended Section 44 of the original Act, that is Lokpal and Lokayukta Act 2013. Uh, the Section 44 of the Act dealt with provisions of furnishing of details of assets and liabilities within 30 days of joining the government of service of joining of government service of any public servant. This amendment replaced, that is Amendment 2016, replaced the time limit of 30 days. It stated that the public servants will make a declaration of their assets and liabilities in the form and manner as prescribed by the government. There was also another significant amendment was made in this 2016 Amendment Act. The amendment was in the case where any NGO or the non-governmental organization which receives funds of more than rupees 1 crore from the government or receives a foreign funding of rupees 10 lakhs, then the assets of the trustees and board members and also of their spouses to be disclosed to the Lokpal. This Amendment Act provided an extension to the time limit given to the trustees and board members to declare their assets and those of their spouses. Now, what is the structure of the Lokpal? Let us try to understand the structure of the Lokpal. Lokpal is a multi-member body consisting of one chairperson and maximum of 8 members. The person to be appointed as the chairperson of the Lokpal must be either the former Justice of India or the former judge of Supreme Court, or an eminent person with impeccable integrity and outstanding ability, who must possess special knowledge and a minimum experience of 25 years of experience in matters relating to anti-corruption policies, public administration, vigilance, finance, including insurance and banking, law and management. Overall, the maximum number of members must not exceed 8. These 8 members must constitute half members to be that of judicial members. Minimum 50% of the members should be from SC, ST and OBC minorities and women. The judicial member of the Lok Sabha must be either a former judge of the Supreme Court and a former Chief Justice of the High Court. And the non-judicial member of the Lokpal needs to be an eminent person with flawless integrity and outstanding ability. So in that case, this structure denotes somewhat a quasi-legal entity to the entire matter. Term and appointment to the office of Lokpal. Lokpal chairman and members can hold the office for a term of 5 years or till they attain at the age of 70 years, whichever is earlier. The members and the chairman of Lokpal are appointed by the president on the recommendation of a selection committee. And the selection committee consists of the Prime Minister of India, the Speaker of Lok Sabha, the leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, the Chief Justice of India or any judge nominated by the Chief Justice of India, and one eminent jurist. It is also to be kept in mind that the Prime Minister is the chairperson of the selection committee, and the selection of the chairperson and the members is carried out by a search panel of at least 8 persons constituted by the selection committee. Jurisdiction and powers of Lokpal extends to the Prime Minister, Ministers, Member of Parliament, Group A, B, C and D officers, officials of central government. But there are some notable exceptions, and these notable exceptions are in the cases of allegations of prime ministers, The Lokpal extends to Prime Minister except in the cases of allegations of corruptions relating to international relations, security, the public order, atomic energy and space. The jurisdiction of the Lokpal does not include ministers and members of parliament in the matter relating to any speeches delivered in the parliament or for a vote cast in the parliament. Lokpal's jurisdiction also includes every person who is or has been in charge, that is, the director, manager, secretary of a body or a society set up by the act of central government, any society or body financed or controlled by the central government, any person involved in act of abetting, bribe giving or bribe taking. But we have to keep in mind also that the Lokpal and Lokayukta states that all public officials need to furnish their assets and liabilities as well as their respective dependents. The Lokpal also possesses the power to superintendence over the CBI. It also has the authority to give direction to CBI. If a case is referred to CBI by the Lokpal, then the investigating officer in such a case cannot be transferred without the prior approval of the Lokpal. The powers of a civil court have been vested with the inquiry wing of the Lokpal. The Lokpal also possesses power regarding the confiscation of assets, proceeds, receipts and benefits arisen or procured by means of corruption in special circumstances. It also has the power to make recommendations regarding the transfer or suspension of public servants connected with the allegations of corruption. Lokpal is capable of giving directions to prevent the destruction of records during the preliminary inquiry. Kindly make comments about what are the limitations about this much needed battle towards corruption, towards or against the corruption. Your remarks and statements are welcome. Thank you. Thank you for watching this video.